What's up, Caplates? I'm Peter from Waves and Games, and you're watching Captain Algebra.
Play the rainbow.
Hey everybody, Captain Algebra here, and last weekend was Mo GameCon 2023, one of my favorite conventions I go to every year because it's just a nice, short 5-hour trip from where I am in Wisconsin, and it's always a great time. Now, as usual, I didn't take any pictures, I didn't take any video, because when I go to conventions, I just kind of like to live in the moment and not worry about pictures and taking video and stuff. Plus, this year, Mo GameCon was in a different venue, and it was way too packed to even take video. Another reason I don't take pictures is we've had pretty much the same group going to Mo GameCon the last 4 years, and we've had some changes, but I mean, Do You Nerd, Gaming Off the Grid, Dan Brosman, and myself, we've been going for, I'm pretty sure, the last 4 years. Waves and Games started coming 3 years ago, and then Chris the old ass retro gamer, and Sean 8-Bit Glitch 79 started coming last year. And we rent out an Airbnb and we just have a great time. I mean, that's the best part of conventions, right? It's really cool seeing all these games and buying games, but the best part is hanging out with friends and just drinking, having a good time, playing video games. I think this year we had the N64 going, we had the Xbox, and then Chris Pico brought his Retro Freaks, so we had a lot of NES stuff going on there. And it was just fun, right? We just hang out. We have our White Castles, and by the way, this was the first time in 3 years since we started the tradition that we ate all 100 White Castle burgers. Pretty awesome. I mean, I didn't know if we'd ever do it, and we did it. So it was a good time. I'm not going to talk too much about all that kind of stuff. Let's just get into the pickups. So I didn't pick up a ton, but I did pick up a lot of games that have been on my list for a while. We're going to save the Genesis for the last, because, you know, then we'll update where I am on my complete collection chronicles. Let's go ahead and start with a gift from Tom from Do You Nerd, and that is a Guardian Legend manual for the NES. So he was kind of showing off the stuff he picked up. I'm like, ooh, Guardian Legend. He knows I really like that game. In fact, I streamed this game after his recommendation, I don't know, like 3-4 years ago. He's like, dude, you want it? I'm pretty sure I have one. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. So thank you so much, Tom. That means a lot. I do really like having manuals. It's not something like I seek out, but it's just nice to have, right? They're cool to read through. It's just something that's missing from modern games. Now we're going to the PlayStation games. So it's funny. Tom was giving me a hard time because throughout, like, we were probably halfway through the convention, and I had bought more PS1 and PS2 games than I had bought Sega Genesis games. It was really weird. I just really wasn't seeing a lot of the stuff I wanted. And plus, I'm about 240 away from the complete set. So you think, I mean, there's still a lot I have to find, but a lot of times I go to conventions, I just see a lot of the same stuff that I already own. And so that makes it a little bit tougher to pick stuff up. But these two PS1 games I did pick up at the same booth. I also didn't pay sticker price for anything. I didn't pay price charting for anything. Everything was lower. And I always like to bundle. So whenever I go to a person I want to buy something from, I try to make sure there's at least 2 games I can buy so I can bundle them and get a better price. So first one that caught my eye at this person, he had a huge PlayStation 1 collection there, and they were all heavy hitters and in fantastic shape. And the first one I grabbed was C, the Contra Adventure. So you guys know I'm a huge Contra fan, and that is one that has eluded me for years, partially because I know it's not a good game. I grew up with Legacy of War on the PS1, which is another terrible game, and so that kind of made me nervous about this one. I had a chance to buy it at Too Many Games 2019. 8-Bit Glitch 79 had found it for me. I'm like, I don't know if I want to pay what it was going for then. It's pretty much just stayed around the same price, which is pretty amazing, and being able to bundle it with the next game really helped bring down the price. But this one is more of your traditional Contra compared to Legacy of War. Legacy of War was that 3D. So far, I mean, see, Contra Adventure is 3D, but you're still only moving left and right. It's more of the environments are in 3D. It seems okay so far. Seems better than Legacy of War, which is not saying much. But I'm excited to play. I'll probably stream it. But yeah, I've got almost every Contra game now. I'm just missing, I believe, Contra Force on the NES, and then Contra Advance Alien Wars on the Game Boy Advance. Otherwise, I believe I have all the Contra games that I want. I mean, I could go with like the Contra and Super C on the Famicom, and Contra Spirits on the Super Famicom, which is Contra 3. I believe it's Contra Spirits. So there's things I could get from for imports, but it's not something I need to have. So then the game I did bundle that with was Ein Honda. This was a game I have heard about for years and I've always wanted. The problem is this is an expensive shooter, right? It's a shooter and it's from Squaresoft. Those two, when you combine, usually makes a pretty expensive game. But I always heard how badass this was, and I wasn't seeing a lot of other stuff I really wanted, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull the trigger on this game. Plus, I bundled it with Contra Adventure, I believe. So the one thing that's bad about this guy is he didn't put prices on anything. So he was basically looking up on GameEye what they were worth. So I think he told me, see, the Contra Adventure was 50 and he had 180 on Ein Honda. Well, at this point, I was out of money. I basically had a certain amount left in my wallet, and I told him, like, hey, this is all I got. Would you take it? And he goes, I don't think so. And then he thought about it for a second. He's like, you know what? Why not? So I ended up getting this, I believe, for $205, those two together. And it would have been what I think $230 would have been what he wanted. So I got $25 off of those, which is a great deal, especially for Ein Honda. But it's a pretty sweet shooter. It's tough, but I'm definitely looking forward to playing it a lot more. Now we're going to get into the PS2 games. And so this was kind of towards the end of convention before I got those PS1 games. And I was really looking for a certain PS2 game, which you're going to see. But I wanted to bundle it. So I found that, and I found another game that's actually been on my list since Metal Jesus Rocks did a Hidden Gems video on the PS2 years ago. And I kept forgetting it. Then I saw it, and I'm like, I've heard this before. And that is Silfeed, The Lost Planet. So this is a shooter from Working Designs and Treasure. And it's like a vertical scrolling shooter, but it's kind of like at a weird angle. So you're like kind of going forward. You're not really going up on the screen. Kind of similar to, like, I guess Axelay on the Super Nintendo. It kind of gives me that vibe. But this is a pretty sweet shooter and really not that expensive. You know, a lot of shooters tend to go up in price, but this one isn't too bad. And once I saw it and I was able to bundle it with this other game I got, I was pretty happy. So then the PS2 game I've been wanting for a long time was the Red Star. So this I've been wanting probably for a couple years since Gaming Off the Grid talked about this, and I've seen Megadan play it, and it looked awesome. You know, it's like a run and gun shooter, but it's more slow paced. You have melee attacks you can do. The problem is I never want to pay what it's going for, and I saw one copy that was for $70, and I was like, I don't want to pay that. But then I did find this one that was going for $60, but I bundled it with Silfeed, which I believe was listed at $25, and I asked if they would just take, was it 80? I think that's what I asked. Yeah, $5 off. Generally, pretty much every seller is going to take $5 off if you ask. So I got Red Star and Silfeed both for $80, and I'm really excited to play this. This will definitely be another game that I'm going to stream. And now we are on to the main event, the Sega Genesis. Again, didn't get a ton of stuff, but we got some good games that I've really wanted to play for a while. First one I grabbed was Shadow of the Beast. So this game always looked really cool. The graphics are super interesting. This is by Psygnosis, and I know Chris, the old retro gamer, really likes Psygnosis. And it's kind of confusing. I played it a little bit, and you can kind of go any direction you want. You can go left, you can go right. So when I first started playing, I went left, and I went down to this like well, and I was getting killed pretty quickly. So the next time I went to the right, and it's just like you keep running forever and ever. So I got to figure out kind of what you got to do. The manual for this is very, very thin. There's not a lot of information, but like I said, it looks fantastic. It controls well. The movement isn't great. Like when you see the graphic of the guy running, it doesn't feel great or look great. But like I said, it's one of those games I've wanted for a while, and I didn't even know there's a Shadow of the Beast 2. That one I really never see, but I'll have to grab it if I want the complete collection. Next game I grabbed for the Genesis was Lethal Enforcers 2. So I do not have the Justifiers yet, but it was almost at the end of convention. I only had a little bit of money left. I'm like, I need to spend some money on some Genesis stuff. So that's why I grabbed Shadow of the Beast and Lethal Enforcers, and I cannot remember. I think maybe these two together I paid $40 for. I want to say. So at first I was like, well, I won't be able to play this. I don't have the justifiers. But then I popped it in just to make sure it worked. And I realized you can use the controller, which is awesome. I do want to get the justifiers at some point. I really want to get them in box because that'd be really cool. But at least I can play this with just a controller, so I'll be able to stream it once I get to it in the L's when I make a loop around in Genesis A to Z. But this is, I mean, it's just a fun, arcade shooter. I had a lot of fun when I was testing it out. Next two came from the same booth. This guy I bought a ton of from last year. His stuff is in fantastic shape. He has it priced really well, and he was making deals, which is awesome. So the first one I want to talk about is Granada. So this is a tank game. It's like a top-down, you're a tank, you're going around these levels, and you got a little radar in the corner that shows all these little red dots, and you basically have to destroy all those enemies in a certain amount of time. So that's the only problem with it so far what I've played. I played through the first level, and there's time. Now, it seemed like I had plenty of time, but I don't know how that's going to go as the game gets tougher. But it was super fun. I really didn't know much about it, but on his table, he had a lot of like Koei games and stuff, and I know I'm not into those. So I'm like, I'll put those off for a while. Let me get something that looks interesting. So I grabbed this, and then the game that I paired it with was Hellfire. So this is a side-scrolling shooter, and basically the Hellfire comes from your bomb weapon in this game, right? That's the ultimate weapon. That's your Hellfire. And it seems like a pretty good shooter so far. I've not played a ton of it. What's so funny is this game is by Seismic, who also does Musha. But Musha is like, $9,000 or $1,000 game, and this one is just a little over 100. So super pumped. Like I said, this guy has some great stuff, and it is fantastic shape. And he remembered me. We were talking a little bit. I meant to go back and buy more stuff from him, but then I found Ein Honda and Red Star, and I didn't really have any money, so I didn't go back to him at all. The only thing I really probably could have gotten was Twin Cobra. I need complete. I have it loose. He had it for a really cheap price. I could have grabbed that, but I don't know. Lately, I've really wanted to just focus on the games I don't own yet at all, rather than like the loose games and completing them. But I believe those two, Granada had, I think, 90 listed on it, and Hellfire was 125. I offered him 200. He agreed to it, so that was awesome. And then the last game, a game I eyed the entire convention, and then I kind of forgot about it, and I ran out of money. And my buddy TJ actually got it for me, which is amazing, and that is The Adventures of Batman and Robin. So the guy who sells this, Ben Bizzle, he has a lot of good stuff. Problem is his prices are a little high. He will deal with you still a little bit, but it's just they're kind of high, and so I was just like, I'll wait. It seemed higher than price charting and stuff. And so I was talking almost at the end of the convention, talking to a bunch of people at these tables that nobody was sitting at because Retro Dimension, I believe, was supposed to be selling there and they didn't show up. So we're just chilling there, and TJ was over there, and he had a game that was sealed on the PS3 that he was looking to get rid of. And so I jokingly said, yeah, hey, this guy right here does trades. Trade that in and get me Adventures of Batman and Robin. He's like, oh yeah, dude, I could do that. I'm like, no, dude, I'm kidding. But seriously, TJ actually did that. So he made the deal. He got some cash. He got this game for me, and I still can't believe it. This is a game I've been wanting for a while. It's a super fun game. You can play Batman or Robin, and it's a side-scrolling action game. You use batarangs to kill your enemies, and it's super cool. And I still cannot believe that TJ bought that for me. That is one of the nicest things that someone's ever done for me. Could not believe that. I mean, that's not a cheap game. And he's like, dude, as long as I get some cash out of this, you're good. And TJ's just a good dude. I mean, he's always hooking me up when he wants to get rid of stuff in his collection for Genesis. I'm the first one he talks to, and he always gives me really good deals. I know just off the top of my head, I know I've gotten Dinosaurs for Hire from him. I think I got Outrun from him. There might be some other games, and he's just a cool dude. So TJ, I know I thanked you then, but I cannot thank you enough for what you did. That is one of the coolest things, so thank you so much. And that puts me at a grand total of 457 Genesis games. So really inching close to 460. I actually technically have a little bit more than that because I did buy a couple games in July that were added to the collection, but I didn't want to showcase them in this video. I wanted to wait. So I've got a couple other Genesis games I've already bought in August. And so just at the end of the month, I'll show those all in the video, and then we'll update you, and that'll be where I am currently. But yeah, after Mo Game Con, I was at 457, which is insane. I've got a whole list. I got a spreadsheet of all the games that I need. And I counted it up the other day. I believe I'm at like 244, 243 Genesis games left. So yeah, it's crazy that it seems like a huge number, but at the same time, you know, that number's dwindling. It's pretty small. I go to game stores, I go to conventions, and sometimes I don't see stuff I need, which is so crazy. But yeah, Mo Game Con, another fantastic convention. Hopefully they move it from Orlando's. It'd be great if they could get back to the community college where it was, because it's a huge open space, or at least find a better spot. Or if they have to Orlando's, there's definitely a way that they could have moved some vendor tables around kind of in the outside hallways and over where like John Hancock and John Riggs were. There was more room. You could have put tables there, would have spaced it out a little bit, and would have been a lot better. But still a great convention, like I said. I love it. I love seeing all the friends that I only see once a year. I mean, that's where I see Tom and Lacey and Waves and Games. Fortunately, I get to see Chris Pico and Gaming Off the Grid and Dan Brosman at MGC every year. It's good to see Sean, 8-Bit Coach 79, because we don't see each other too much. And it's, like I said, it's just a good time. So if you guys ever make it Mo Game Con, let us know. Come over to the Airbnb and hang out. It's a good time. So thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, this is Captain Algebra, signing off.